So if you're not familiar with what podcasts are, they're basically like little mini radio stations. And like whereas like original radio was like you basically listen to whatever they want you to listen to, podcasts are like your way of kind of curating what you want to listen to, what type of topics you want to hear, things like that. So you can find podcasts on like the iTunes podcast app. You can also find them now on like iHeartRadio. You can find them on Spotify. So there's lots of different platforms for you to listen to podcasts. And with that being said, there's different people who are, creating podcasts about different topics, and I've been really interested in them recently. Okay, so in no particular order, my first podcast that I'm going to talk about is called Committed. It's hosted by Jo Piazza. I believe she's a fictional author, and she also wrote a book, which I'm really excited about reading within the next like couple of days, is How to Be Married, which is like I believe it's her sort of like writings about traveling around the world and like talking to different women about how to survive your first year of marriage, which is like a pretty interesting topic. I'm not married, but like at some point I would like to be, so marriage is just a really interesting topic to me. And especially because she's traveling with her husband, and it's their first year of marriage while they're talking to these women about how to survive their first year of marriage. So pretty exciting. So far, I love the podcast. I've listened to at least the whole first season of episodes, and it's because I'm like a hopeless romantic. So you get to hear all these different stories of these couples and like what they've gone through and how they're like still together. And like right now, like in America, like the divorce rate is so high. So it's just so exciting to hear stories of like these couples that are like surviving things. So that's just like a really exciting thing. Sorry about the noise in the background. That is my cat in her litter box. So I'm just gonna read the description that the podcast has, and it says, join host Jo Piazza as she delves into the hilarious and heartbreaking and inspiring stories of couples of all kind who soldiered through unimaginable circumstances, and after the longest of days, still want to wake up next to one another in the morning, which sounds so exciting. And it is an amazing podcast. Honestly, like one of my most favorite episodes so far, I can't even remember the couple's name, but I'll like link it below or like put it in the description box or something. It's this episode about this couple that like got blown up in the Boston bombing together. They both survived. Unfortunately, the husband, he lost one of his legs, and the wife, she lost both her legs, but they're like still together, like they're still making it. And what's so crazy is like it happened within their first year of marriage. And so what's so amazing to me is that like, when you take your vows, whatever, you're like, oh, for better or for worse, like worse could come in like a couple months, like, so be for real about what you're saying, because like that's serious. Like that's a lot of stuff. And like it's amazing how like so early in their marriage they have to deal with so much, and they're still willing to be together and still like fighting to have a relationship. So that's like, it's the podcast like literally has so like I've only been listening to it for a couple months, but it has changed my life and the way I think about like being married and what I think about like what marriage is. So it seems it's pretty exciting, and I am looking forward to listening to more episodes. I'm looking forward to listening to more couples and just learning more about like just relationships in general, because like some of the couples on there are like divorced couples as well, like so like, or people that have been divorced and have gotten remarried. So there's like lots of different types of relationships on there, so it's just exciting to listen to. Okay, so the second podcast that I want to discuss is called Family Secrets. It's hosted by Dani Shapiro, who is also an author. I believe she's written a couple books that are now like audiobooks. I do want to listen to those as well. But it's literally called Family Secrets, and just that. I'll read the description that she has for the podcast, and it says, family secrets, we all have them. And while the discovery of family secrets can initially be terrifying or traumatic, often these discoveries have the power to liberate, heal, and even uplift us. Join Dani Shapiro, best-selling author of the memoir Inheritance, and her guests as they explore astonishing family secrets and uncover the extraordinary lessons the truth can teach us. It is amazing. I love this podcast so much. Honestly, I think I just like it because of like the drama. Like it's almost like, oh my god, like I love like, I guess I won't say drama because it makes it seem like I'm like dramatic or whatever, but like I just like, it kind of feels like a soap opera to me. It's like, oh my god, this really happened. And it's like you want to keep up with the story. So like when they take commercial breaks, you're just like, like come back. The first time I actually listened to it, I was I believe I was like traveling or something. I was going like home in the bus or something. So I was like taking like a 5-hour trip, and like I listened to like at least like 4 or 5 episodes. before I ever even like took a nap. It was crazy, but like I just couldn't stop with they were just getting better and better. But obviously the whole idea of the show is kind of like to heal and like make sure people are like getting through whatever these family secrets have caused them. One of my favorite episodes, cannot think of her name right now, but like she was the creator of the documentary Little White Lies, and like so basically she grew up with her family, a white mom and a white dad, in Woodstock, New York. Her parents never told her that she was black. They just kept telling her that, like, you know, you have a white mom, you have a white dad, you're white. You're just a little bit darker because you have like a darker skin Sicilian grandfather on your dad's side, right? This girl grows up her entire life thinking that she is white. She goes to college, and at that point they had to like submit pictures of themselves with their application. In her school, I believe it was Georgetown, submitted, when she got in, they admitted her as a black student, and then that was like when she started experiencing more black people, because I guess in Woodstock, New York at that time, like the 70s, pretty much a white area, so she didn't have like a lot of connection with black people. Get to college, she starts connecting with black people, and she's like, yeah, I'm black. Like, she can like see other people, she can see how they look in comparison to her, and she's like, look, there's something that went on, because like I'm definitely black. Goes home, talks to her mom, comes to find out her mom had an affair before she was born, obviously, with a black man. So she's like, yeah, it's a good chance that you're black. Yeah, obviously, Mom, I am black. So come to find out, you know, her dad's not her dad. Like, you know, it kind of changes her whole life, because like, you grew up your whole life thinking that you're one race, and then like come to find out you're another one, or like a mix of two. Then it's like a whole big deal. But it was amazing. Not only did I listen to her podcast, but then I went on to watch the woman's documentary. I will link the podcast as well as the documentary underneath the description box, but you gotta go watch it. She was actually on The Real. I watched her interview on The Real as well. Amazing, like life-changing documentary. It was amazing. I really enjoyed it. Great podcast, great movie. Okay, so now the third podcast I want to discuss is stuff you missed in history class, which you might already know about because it's been around for like a couple of years now. It's like, maybe not even a couple, it's probably been like, I want to say maybe like 10 years or something. I could be wrong, but it's a very, very popular podcast. They've had multiple different hosts. I've been listening to it off and on for years, but like this is like the one like couple of months that I've been listening to it very consistently, like, you know, listening to all the new episodes and things like that. At some point I want to like take a couple days and just like go through and listen to like all the episodes, like from the very first one up until today. So maybe I'll do that at some point. So far, I mean, what I can tell you about the podcast is there's no like legitimate description like on the website I can find, but the title of it is Stuff You Missed in History Class. So it's basically just that, like just all types of random topics in history that you never would have time to learn in your history class because you got too much other stuff to learn. So boom, like you would never hear about like, you know, the nitty gritty, like very specific people and very specific times and things like that. A couple of my favorite episodes there was an episode about what is the gene guy, like, gosh, I cannot think of his name. Levi, oh my god, Levi Strauss. Okay. So basically, like, come to find out, like, from reading that, like, I thought that he, like, I never really knew much about it, but I just assumed that he was just, like, started off just making jeans. Like, no, he came over from this country, he was an immigrant. I believe he was legal because he got papers on that stuff, but that doesn't matter. He came over to this country, he was working for his older brother's business in, like, dry goods, so, like, sheets, rice, all types of other random dry things. They wanted to expand the company out west, so they kind of sent him, because he didn't have a family or wife at that time, sent him out to, like, California to, you know, figure out that realm of the business on the West Coast. He gets out there, long story short, some guy from a whole different area sends him a prototype of these jeans that he had made that have rivets on it. The guy couldn't really afford to get a patent on the jeans, so he sends the jeans with the letter, like, hey, this is my design, this is my creation, can you get a patent for it in my name? So, I mean, luckily Levi Strauss is like a good person, he does, and then I believe him and the guy go into business together because the guy moves from there to California. They work together, they create what we now know as it's now called Levi's, like we basically call it Levi Strauss, the company, and it's crazy because like it was never really his company, they worked together, but like, it's like a whole big long story. Obviously, you can listen to the podcast, it was like 40 minutes long, it's like a full big chunk of information. But yeah, like that was really, really interesting. That was great. Another one of my favorite episodes is about Hetty Green, who's like, she was called the Witch of Wall Street. and she was like one of the richest women in the world at the time. I believe it was like, I don't want to say a date because I feel like I'm gonna get it wrong, but it might have been the 1800s or something. But again, I'll link this down below. Richest woman in the world at that time, and you never really hear about like rich women in like the olden days in history, or just even now. Like you hear when you hear about like rich people or just people that are like really great with finances, whatever. Typically men, and like typically like, you know, people that don't necessarily not you. So it's like kind of interesting. It's like, oh my god, it's like a woman. She's like, at that point she was like a billionaire, so now she probably would have been like a trillionaire, like, you know, super crazy rich lady, and she had a crazy backstory, but still great story, interesting. Really enjoyed the podcast. Really enjoyed the podcast. Really enjoyed that episode. Love that. If you have not already checked it out, check out stuff you missed in history class if you're a history buff like me.